Now clearly I have a lot of mixed feelings about this, mostly because it's coming from Fox. Now X-Men Dark Phoenix is coming out in just over a year away, and so far we have very little information revolving around the film. However, recently something has slipped through the cracks, and it appears that the Dark Phoenix storyline will be split into two parts. Now this all came about during a recent interview with Olivia Munn, and she was asked about the future of the X-Men franchise as well as her character Psylocke. And she more or less confirmed that she will be coming back for X-Men Dark Phoenix. And although many people did not like the portrayal of Psylocke, I'm hoping that at the very least that she'll be given more for this film. However, in her interview with Collider, she accidentally let something slip. And this is what she had to say. "I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I'm supposed to be vague. That is my answer. I'm horrible at that. It's like a two-parter, this movie. That's more that I've said in general. I don't know why people have to be so secretive." Now, although this isn't exactly 100% confirmed by Fox themselves, they do have an untitled movie in the works that is slated for 2019, and that movie has yet to be revealed. But given how secretive Fox really is, it does seem like X-Men Dark Phoenix will in fact be split into two films, which is pretty interesting for better or for worse. And the decision of having this film split into two could either make or break the entire storyline, which is why I'm going to be explaining the pros and cons of having X-Men Dark Phoenix split into two. Now first of all, I want to focus on the positives. And for starters, the Dark Phoenix saga is an incredibly lengthy storyline. And if you are to adapt the Dark Phoenix saga, then you're gonna have to cover a lot of things, such as explain the Phoenix Force and how that works. But not only that, you also have to introduce the Shi'ar Empire into the frame as well, who have a pretty major role within the overall story. And let's not forget, you still have the Hellfire Club, who had a pretty significant role within the Dark Phoenix saga. And sure, the likes of Sebastian Shaw, Emma Frost, and many of the other members have died after the events of X-Men First Class. The thing is, the Hellfire Club has changed members over the years, and there's even some crucial Hellfire Club members who haven't even made it onto the X-Men film franchise yet, and are pretty major within the Dark Phoenix saga, most notably Mastermind. And given everything that they have to cover over the Dark Phoenix saga, on the surface it does seem like a plausible idea to split this film into two parts, because there are so many characters to introduce, and even the returning characters need to be further developed. Which does bring on to my second point, and that's the fact that the new generation of the X-Men have to be further developed, most notably Jean Grey, Cyclops and Nightcrawler. And that was a huge complaint when it came down to X-Men Apocalypse, as X-Men Apocalypse was supposed to be the conclusion for the second trilogy of the X-Men franchise, and was supposedly meant to be the ending chapter for both James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender's portrayals as Professor X and Magneto, while at the same time planting the seeds for the next generation of the X-Men franchise, which wasn't really successful, but you kinda get the idea. And given that the Dark Phoenix saga is very much a Jean Grey story, the main focal point for Dark Phoenix is supposed to be Jean Grey and her relationship with the team. And if they really want to build these characters ever so more, then the best way to do this is by splitting the film into two parts. And if they do it similarly to the Deathly Hallows, in that part 1 is meant to be more about character development and setting up the stage, while setting off all the fireworks for part 2, then this could actually work. Now for all that being said, it does seem like a great idea for Dark Phoenix to be split into two parts, however there are plenty of downsides towards this. And the major problem revolves around James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender and Jennifer Lawrence all coming back for X-Men Dark Phoenix. And this is a major problem because all three of these actors are incredibly popular and well known. But not only that, the characters of Magneto, Professor X and Mystique are often the three characters that Fox mostly focus on in their X-Men films. And because of this, that would mean that these three characters would overshadow the likes of Jean Grey and Cyclops, when really it should be the other way around. Now one could argue that this would make sense considering that Charles Xavier is meant to be the mentor for the X-Men. And to me, including Professor X makes sense, and I don't mind that at all. And you could also make the argument that Mystique was set up to become the lead of the X-Men. However, this is something that no fan really wants, and it would be much better if she was written out of the storyline altogether, and especially the fact that Mystique has no place in the original storyline to begin with. And the same could be said for Magneto. Like, I understand that Magneto has appeared in pretty much every X-Men film outside of Origins, but Magneto has no purpose in the storyline whatsoever. And his inclusion into X-Men Dark Phoenix wouldn't add anything, but instead ruin the film. And out of them three characters, it should be Charles Xavier that should make an appearance in Dark Phoenix. And also what I consider a con about making this a two-parter is the fact that they've already ruined the Dark Phoenix saga once, with the most watered down version of the Phoenix possible in The Last Stand. And yes, people could say that, oh, maybe it should have been split into two parts from the very beginning. However, if it's coming from the same studio that created X-Men The Last Stand, then this is sort of troublesome, because it really comes across like they're trying so hard to get this right, and it really feels like they're rushing towards the Dark Phoenix saga. And the real reason why Dark Phoenix being a two-parter could be a bad idea is the fact that the last film in the series underperformed drastically, as X-Men Apocalypse underperformed at the box office, and not only that, not many people really liked the film all too much. And because of how X-Men Apocalypse has underperformed a lot, this sort of dampens the brand of the X-Men franchise, as many people are more excited to see New Mutants and Deadpool 2 as opposed to the core X-Men films, which is very problematic. And plus, many two-parters do have this curse in that part 1 would underperform a lot, while part 2 could either be more successful or would crash and burn down. And if no one really likes Dark Phoenix part 1, then what makes you think that they're gonna care about part 2? But at the end of the day, all we really want is to see the Dark Phoenix saga done right. And despite how I pointed out a bunch of cons revolving around this move of making it a two-parter, if they were to do it successfully, then I have no problem with them making it into a two-parter. But given Fox's track record with the X-Men franchise, I am incredibly worried for the film. But at the same time, I want what's best for this storyline, even if it means splitting the film into two. So how do you feel about X-Men Dark Phoenix possibly getting split into two parts? Do you believe that this move will be incredibly beneficial, or do you think that it will become very problematic? Comment below and share some thoughts. And as always, thank you guys for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. Take care and have a good one.